Glad to have you still joining us on ADBN Television, watching live from Abuja Studio, the Market Report. I already have live in the studio Ambassador Joe Keshi. Very good day to you, sir. Welcome to the Market Report.
Thank you.
Now, Ambassador, let's quickly go through some of your track record, particularly you being the DG of Brace Commission. Yeah. Brace Commission happens to be Bayelsa, Rivers, Edo, Delta, Akwa Ibom, put together as one of the initiative to bring development to Niger Delta. So how far has the Brace Commission go? What news do you have for Nigerians, particularly people from the South watching you right now on Brace Commission?
Well, what we're trying to do at the Brace level is to harmonize the economies of the 6 states in such a way that we create a larger economy that has the capacity to create employment and prosperity for the people. When you look at a country like the United States, for example, the largest state is California. And California, if California was a state, a country on its own, it would be the 5th largest economy in the world. And we have this ambition that if we can harmonize, get the country, the region, the states in those regions to come together, work together, and create such an economy with a population of almost 27 to 28 million people, which in itself is probably about 6 or 7 states from any of this African zone or from the world. They too will create a very large economy than when they are just small and individualistic. So this is exactly what we are trying to do. Our vision and the whole idea has been interrupted by the constant political crisis in that region. And it seems to me that any time that we are making progress, we have one political issue or the other. And right now, the suspension of the governor of Rivers State has created its own problems. 2015, the problem between Amechi and the rest of the South governor, because he was decamping to created a situation that the governors refused to meet. The commission had nobody to report to. We did not get the support of anybody. So we were like left in the doldrum. And we did that for about another 6 years. So now we have held meetings. I just came back from a meeting where we were talking about livestock development. The region has potentials, great potentials for livestock development, and the recommendations that has been made is not left for the governors to meet and to see whether they will drive that process. If they decide to drive that process, that would be a plus for the region itself. So this is exactly what we are trying to do in the region. I think the fundamental problem also, from my perspective, is that, which, by the way, there is a sister agency in the Southwest, Dawn. Yes. I think the problem Dawn and the Brace Commission has is that the people we are working with do not have a clear understanding of what you call economic cooperation and integration. There's still that desire for individual approach. But when you look at it, when the whole West was one part of the equation in this country, or the East, you can see on paper today, history tells us of how much development that was achieved that has not even been achieved since then. Recently, I was in Ibadan, and it just struck me. That that's a city in which I grew up in. That's a city I love so much. I went to school, I went to university, I met my wife, got married and everything and so on. And one of the areas that we visited so often and played a lot because it has actually worked in Quota Corporation that I also play football with, Cocoa House. And I just imagine that since Chief Obafemi Awolowo built Cocoa House, there's been no other skyrise in that place. And then you begin to wonder what exactly are we doing? And Ibadan is expanding all over the place. And my greatest fear, even with the South, is that one day we wake up in this country and we do not have farmlands anymore, because everywhere we are building houses. So nobody is thinking of where are we going to get the land to. So if we can recreate what our ambition is, and the Southwest can recruit, I think it would be a model, and you do not have to begin to fight over some of the little things we are fighting over today. Because you see, the whole fight in Nigeria today is very simple. It's about the equal distribution of economic resources. Nothing more. And because it's not being equally shared or fairly shared, you all have all these problems of inequality, marginalization, and so on. But if every region can develop the way we are thinking of, the way it was before, I think that we have peace, we have tranquility, everybody developing, the competition will be great, and nobody would care.
Exactly. And then talking about having that tranquility and peace, one of the reasons why I say, okay, let's take a look at the harnessing the South economic potential. And I quickly discovered that you'll be the right person to help us dissect this particular issue. And from the BRACE Commission, the success they have been able to record in the last few years that have existed is quite encouraging. But going forward, a lot of people have now seen the recent establishment of South Development Commission, the NDDC, another commission that have been established as something close to what BRACE is doing.
No.
Ambassador, I want to clear something, because people need to understand the difference between Development Commission and what BRACE was doing in regards to the South of Nigeria. So
let me start by saying 2 or 3 things about the recent creation of commissions all over the country. If I was a president today, if you elect me president tomorrow, the first executive bill I would sign is to remove all those commissions. I would request the parliament to, what's that word they used, to repeal all the laws. They are not necessary. They were just created to share money. No. Because look, many years ago, I predicted there was a clearly defined, clear reasons for why NDDC was established. Unfortunately, NDDC itself has not done well enough. So I don't expect others to do anything. NDDC was created to address some particular issues in the Niger Delta. Just like the amnesty program. And the amnesty program was not supposed to last forever. It has, or should have had a time frame, a lifespan. You can also make a case that, well, the Northeast Commission, because of the crisis in that, was also created. There is absolutely no reason for the creation of the Southeast or the South or the Southwest Commission. The Southwest, look, one of my, I'm trying to be careful the way I put it there, As I said, I grew up in the Southwest. And when I was growing up as a child in that place, Southwest, Ibadan and Lagos, because those were where my parents lived, the Southwest, they were the most accommodating people. I went to school. Nobody had any idea where you are from, who your parents and things like that, They were the most liberal, most accommodating. And till today, the Southwest has had the best benefit from this country. And then to not see that Southwest has become so parochial that they are not providing that intellectual strength, that vision that has given them advantage to where they are today. They have absolutely no need for that commission because they have not suffered any type of crisis like the Southwest, like the Southeast, or like the
North Central.
Like the North Central. Secondly, they are probably doing better than any other region in this country. So they don't need it. But like one of their politicians said to people, we don't care whether we need it or not. If they want to share money, we should be part of it. So it's all about sharing money. If these commissions were, look at what NDDC has done and tell me exactly what is the most significant thing you can point out that NDDC has achieved in the, But as I always say, if NDDC has just focused on 2-3 areas, doing the interstate roads, just doing the interstate roads, rebuilding the ports in that region, that would have spurred a great economic activity in that region. But they were going about doing little things, sharing money here and there. And by the way, when you talk of NDDC and people say what NDDC decisions are not made in Port Harcourt, they are made here in Abuja at the villa or the office of the SSG. So it's a political organization. Look, and I'll say this, the first time I went to Port Harcourt when we started the NDDC, the hotel I stayed with, I met some old friends from the Southwest and from the North. In fact, a colleague that we worked together at one time. And I was, what are you doing here? He said, I came, I'm trying to do something for NDDC. And I was like, everybody from all over the country was going to NDDC to collect one contract or the other. Go and ask each of the governors their feelings about the NDDC. And the same thing is going to do with all these organizations. It's just sharing of money. Oh, let's get extra money. But it's not the issue of extra money. It's exactly what are we doing with all these resources? Where are we still poor? Where do we still have poverty? And the key areas of development that we should, if NDDC had focused on the triggers of development, as I said, if it had just said, look, we are going to expand all the roads in the South-South. Since it was created, they would have done that. So that road would have magnificent roads. If they say, oh, we are going to focus on hospitals and focus on agriculture, the situation in the Niger Delta would have been different too.
Exactly. And particularly on the side of Breeze, I also, when I went through some of the documents of Breeze, because I'm using Breeze yardstick to see how we can harness the economic potential of the South-South. Because Breeze is like
we can,
down in the heart of the South-South.
We can do that if the leaders and the people understand what economic cooperation is all about. What economic integration is all about. Why should you build a mill, rice mill in Port Harcourt? You go and put another rice mill in Bayelsa when to Port Harcourt is just 1 hour. Why? You can use that money instead of building a rice mill here to do something else. Why should you build an abattoir in all the 6 states? What capacity do they have to make all of them functional? No, you don't do things like that. So what we advise the states to say, let everybody perform or do things that they have comparative advantage to do. Like in agriculture, one of the advice we gave after a lot of meetings was to look at it that, look, the region, say, has huge capacity to produce oil palm. And we said to the governors, let every state focus on oil palm. And then take 2 other crops that you have the comparative advantage and develop it across the value chain. If they had done that, we probably wouldn't be having any issue of food security in that region.
Apart from food security, I'm going through the record of some of these things. They are generating some revenue. About 488 billion was generated in 2020 at IGR. With what you have said, if they are taking advantage of some of those, potentiality of
to invest in key
areas,
development areas, to invest in key triggers of development, education, health, agriculture, which can serve as a falcon for economic development. I think once we can see evidence of economic development, increase in employment, and you can educate vast majority of the characters on the street today, you honestly begin to see that a number of our problems will be solved.
Exactly.
Particularly the issues of security. The whole one of the reasons why we were late was that when we got to some place, I knew we were on the right path because I go to AIT from here. And I just saw some of these keke and asked, do you know this place? They said no. And I laughed, but they apply all these places, but they don't even know the names of the streets. They don't even speak English. And why is that? Because they are not educated. So you have the whole bunch of them completely uneducated. If keke was not available, all those guys would be criminals. Just imagine for a second. Which is why we must find a way, even at the level they are today, to educate them. There's nothing else that would save us until come up with mass education, not only those in school, those who are not in school. 90% of the taxi drivers in Abuja have no idea what the signed roads mean.
Traffic sign and all
traffic,
that.
so they just beat traffic. In fact, they behave as if they don't even know what red is all about.
So as we conclude, Ambassador, because one of the key aspects, as I earlier pointed out, I've read through the record, the success story of Breeze, and one of the key things that I know is very, very germane at this point in time is how to attract investors to those states. And one of the things that many investors will be careful about is security. So what would be your advice to those states?
Well, to be candid as of today, I think the South is probably one of the most secured and peaceful part of Nigeria. I don't know when last we had a crisis or anything in Delta, for example. Yeah, there are a few problems with herdsmen and so on. You don't have that problem in Port Harcourt. There's practically no security issue in Port Harcourt, except now that the federal government has created by the suspension of the governor. Port Harcourt and Rivers was in nowhere near crisis. Say you can talk of Akwa Ibom. Who has ever heard of any political crisis in Akwa Ibom? Not to talk of Calabar, where the people are the most peaceful people and everybody goes about the investment. And the governors are trying to attract investment to that region. The problem sometimes is that particularly under this administration, the federal government has focused all attention on Lagos and Abuja. So when they go and talk about, look, if you take a look at some of the visitors and particularly conferences on tech that the federal government is doing, and it's either in Lagos or they do it in Abuja. The rest of the country is forgotten. So you create the impression to investors that all you are talking about is Abuja, Lagos. And so the only way they remember the South, for example, is when you talk about oil
and gas.
But those people are not doing much investment in that area anymore. So the federal government itself must have a broader objective in mind to say, let all the conferences not be in Abuja. You want to do something on high tech. This last year you did it in Abuja. This year you are going to do it in Abuja. You are going to do it in Lagos. There's a Lorry, there's a Port Harcourt, there's a Ibadan, there's a Enugu, there's Kano, there's Kaduna. If you tell the governors you want to do this, they will be ready to work with you. If you tell, but the whole idea is that, look, you know, maybe the federal government don't understand. When I hear some people from the Southwest says, if you are jealous of Lagos, go back to your state. It just shows you the intellectual laziness of those who make such arguments.
Ambassador, we have to leave it here because of time. I know now that we have understood the route to this area, we'll definitely bring you back to discuss more about the South-South potential. And I've been speaking with Ambassador Joe Keshi, DG Based Commission, and if you are here from him, very passionate about Nigeria, very passionate about the South-South, especially for the economic development of the region and Nigeria at large. This will be the size of our show today. So we'll come your way next time. I want to say, enjoy the rest of your day.